All right, in Turkey, Donald Trump boarded Air Force One, then got out the other side and hid in a catering cart to go onto a different plane because the Iranians want to kill him, crouched down, little coward, left his staff in the media exposed on the other plane. All of this could have been avoided, but he had to take Bribe Force One. He just had to take it. And of course, the Iranians want to kill him. That's what happens when you start a war and you kill all of their leadership. Pop this up, bombshell reporting on this. The New York Times, top White House and administration officials engaged in an elaborate ruse to spirit Trump out of Turkey during the NATO summit, transporting him in a catering cart to a military jet because of a credible threat against him and Air Force One from Iran. I could go on about how he fit into the catering cart, but it's just a visual. I don't think many of us want to spend much time. But Caitlin Collins reveals a tape of Trump being carted away. Play the clip.
According to the Post, and you can see here, Trump and several of his aides were secretly shuttled minutes later onto this airport catering truck, which was elevated and positioned at a door out of the view of the cameras. Now, the Post reports that the president was on that catering truck when it pulled away from Air Force One at 8:30 p.m., secretly bringing him to a smaller plane, an Air Force C-32A, making the Air Force One that everyone thought he was on a decoy that still had the reporters who thought the president had boarded that plane and who you see boarding right here on the right, and some White House staff aboard.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, of course, they continued and put some White House staff in the media on the plane because he doesn't care. This guy governs from a position of not playing the tape through, not playing offense. Everything he does is defensive. Like right now, we're in the Iran war, and Iran has said, we're done. We don't want to talk to him anymore. We're keeping the strait closed. We're done until the end of his term because this guy won't listen to anybody, literally. Because here's a clip of him passed out asleep while RFK Jr. pushes conspiracies about vaccines. This was yesterday in the Oval. Play the clip.
Disease is universally recommended for vaccines from 17 to 11 and establishing distinct categories of recommendations based upon the scientific evidence. Our assessment found that the
Okay, it's pretty remarkable, the commitment to these taxpayer-funded naps to be able to sleep with RFK Jr. screeching right next to you. I mean, that is a commitment to not giving a fuck about your public demeanor that he should put on a master class, because I could not sleep if I heard RFK Jr. screeching next to me. But at the meeting, Trump signed an executive order that aims to reduce the number of universally recommended vaccines. The order recommends that the list of diseases that all children should be vaccinated against drop from 18 to 11. RFK and Trump both linked vaccines to autism, going against scientific evidence. And so this is so incredibly dangerous that all of this anti-science, and so many parents are so nervous about their kids, taking them in public, first-time parents, and it's terrifying. I remember when my kids were little, taking them to get shots, thinking, oh, I don't want it to hurt them. Are they going to be okay? And this just planting this seed of doubt. It reminds me of what historian and good friend of mine, Ruth Ben-Ghiat, said. This is what autocrats do. This is what authoritarians do. They plunder everything. And then the electorate, the people they're supposed to serve, diseases start rising up. And we're seeing that all over the place. Trump also makes this insane batshit claim about childhood vaccines. Play the clip.
At 1 year, you should have 5 separate visits for vaccines rather than getting them all in the same day. And I saw this early on, and I've seen proof of it, where they have a vaccination thing, looks like the size of a bottle of soda poured into a little child's body, and bad things happen in too many cases, because this is an explosion. This is an epidemic.
Okay, there is not a vaccine that is the size of a bottle of soda. And I just want to remind everybody, this is the guy who, left to his own vices when he was going to solve the COVID crisis, was like, I mean, why don't we just inject the bleach and then shine these lights in? I mean, this guy just freeballs everything. But then there's also these Republicans that just go along with it. Remember, Trump's sleeping there behind the Oval. Everybody just acts like it's normal, like he's allowed to do that. There's so many people that are allowing all of this shit to be normalized. One of these people is Bill Cassidy. Bill Cassidy is a coward of the highest highest order. And now he responds to Trump's executive order on childhood vaccines. Pop this up. I am a doctor. This executive order is wrong. The president does not have the expertise to make these changes. Goes on and on and on. Vaccines do not cause autism. Senator Cassidy voted for RFK Jr. Senator Cassidy just voted to confirm Todd Blanche, Attorney General, pedophile protector. So this just, it means nothing that Bill Cassidy now wants to go out and talk about his, over a decade of medical experience. You have no credibility. None. You can't even stand up to Donald Trump. It's just these MAGA men and how submissive they are is just such a symptom of all of this plundering that Trump is doing, watching the worst men, the most submissive, obsequious, trad wives sit there and fawn over the president. And now Bill Cassidy thinks he has on the high ground to tell people this. You have no credibility. None. Zero. Even though you're right in this instance. Here's a video where Trump claims he took his own children to the doctor to get vaccines. Play the clip.
President, you're a proud father. Would you have vaccinated your children differently based on the recommendations?
Well, I did. I took my children for 5 different vaccinations. In other words, I broke it up. The one visit where they just pump, what seemingly looks like gallons, where they pump so much in. I took my children.
I've heard enough. Okay. Did you notice the reporter said you're a proud father? Okay, the framing of that question I object to because that is such bullshit. But secondly, nobody believes for a second that Donald Trump took his kids to the doctor. But I remember in 2016, when Trump was on the campaign trail, I remember him going on and on and on about this vaccine stuff. This isn't new. He campaigned on this back when he was running against Hillary. And he would talk about this same thing. You take this beautiful baby and you take the baby and then they inject it with all of this stuff and then something's wrong with the baby. And I remember my mother called me around that time, and she's a big purveyor of news. And she said, Jennifer, there's rumors all over the internet that a lot of people have observed Barron, and it looks like he's stimming and doing, autistic style walking and with his hands and whatnot. And if you think about this, it was alleged during the time people that on the internet, Rosie O'Donnell, one of them who has an autistic daughter, said, I am observing Barron and it seems like he has autism. So if you think about Trump, he's a malignant narcissist. And we know from psychologists and psychiatrists, narcissists believe their children are an extension of themselves. And so if Barron were autistic, this would be a narcissistic injury to him because we know he talks on and on about eugenics and I have great genes and I'm the most fit president anybody's ever examined and I'm the most, the best of the best. We know that he didn't want to be photographed in Trump 1.0 with his daughter Tiffany because he said she looked fat. And so Trump is really into the optics of these things, right? All right, we're still in summer. So for those of you that have not yet met your goals, you still have time to do it. If you want this to be your most radiant summer yet, Prolon's 5-day fasting mimicking diet makes it easy to target fat loss, support lean muscles, and reset your metabolism so you look and feel your best all summer long. In just 5 days, Prolon works at the cellular level to rejuvenate you from the inside out and help you hit your summer health goals. Prolon is a plant-based nutrition program featuring soups, snacks, and beverages designed to nourish the body while keeping it in a fasting state. This triggers cellular rejuvenation and renewal. Prolon can help change your relationship with food in just 5 days. No matter the season, you guys, when I am craving a real reset, Prolon is the only nutrition program that works for me. It's convenient and it's backed by a Nobel-winning science and it works. I use this and you should too. Ready for your own reset? For a limited time, Prolon is offering iHip News listeners 15% off site-wide plus a $40 bonus gift when you subscribe to their 5-day program. Just visit prolonlife.com/iHip. That's PROLONLIFE.com/iHip to claim your 15% discount and your bonus gift. prolonlife.com/iHip. Well, the Daily Beast remembers this as well. And here's a headline from them from yesterday. Trump plots wild move and personal crusade tied to Barron. Trump, 80, has made vaccine policy a major issue within his second administration. He has frequently questioned whether there's a link between the number of childhood vaccines and autism, even since before his son Barron was old enough to be diagnosed. Trump told the Sun Sentinel in 2007 that he and his wife, Melania Trump, were very, very conservative with scheduling vaccines for Barron, who was only 22 months old at the time. But here's the thing, you guys. Vaccines don't cause autism, but old man sperm might. Pop this up. Multiple epidemiological studies suggest a relationship between advanced parental age, APA, at conception and adverse neurodevelopmental outcomes in offspring, particularly with regard to increased risk for autism and schizophrenia. So, you know how MAGA yesterday was freaking out about AOC, and they were saying she shouldn't have a kid later in life because she won't see her grandkids and all of this stuff. I just want to say to all of them, now do Trump. Now do Trump. I mean, he was old AF when he had Barron. And if Barron, whatever, I don't know what's wrong with Barron. I don't know that there's anything wrong with Barron, but I know that a lot of observers back in 2016 observed what they saw was autistic style behavior. And Melania, for the record, came out in her memoir and completely denied all of this. But if you just take it psychologically, the way Trump is, why does this real estate investor from New York, who's all about the optics of all of this stuff and his own ego, why does he give a shit about vaccines? It has to personally affect him for him to care about it. So I'm just saying, do your own research on that, like MAGA, do your own research. All right. And then we have Caroline Leavitt. Of course, she has to jump in to this whole thing and lie, pathologically lie all the time. Pop this up. No longer. Thank you, President Trump and at Secretary Kennedy. European country, 11 injections. United States, 72 injections. Okay, this is a lie. This is completely false. This is fascist propaganda from one of the chief propagandists of this fascist regime, a dipshit named Caroline Leavitt, who puts on her cross and Christian signals as she promotes policies that promote death. Not getting your kids vaccinated can cause your children to die because MAGA is a death cult. And Adam Cochran comes with the receipts on this claim, this lie that Caroline Leavitt is promoting. Pop this up. In the U.S., the total routine injections by age 2 is 13. Okay? So, and then he goes and lists all of this. But I also want to say that, Melania is nowhere to be found in this regime. But the 35-year-old, childless, unmarried Natalie Harp is always just entranced with Donald Trump, which we'll leave that to the psychologist at a later date. But here she is again in the Oval Office, like with Stockholm Syndrome or whatever. Pop this up. Natalie Harp, the president's ever-present aide, stood at attention during his only public event of the day. And all I want to say is I'm fine with Natalie Harp being 35, unmarried, and a career woman, no children. I'm fine with that. But Erica Kirk and others, when they apply this to liberal women, I just demand equality. Apply this to Natalie Harp. Go after Natalie Harp. Why is she unmarried? Why doesn't she have children? Why does she worship Donald Trump? Some weird shit. All right, that's all we have. Like and subscribe. Pumps is on vacation, and I'll be back later with more news.